Well, good evening. Welcome to Bedtime Stories with me, Pastor Michelle. Today's Saturday, December 12th, and our Disney story of the night is from Aladdin, and it's called The Desert Race. And here's the picture of them racing, I think. Okay. All right. The Sultan was angry. The desert race was coming up, and he was sure Agrabah would lose to Prince Fayez of Zagreba. I have an idea, Jasmine said eagerly. I could ride Midnight in the desert race. He's the fastest horse around. Oh no, the Sultan looked shocked at the suggestion. The desert race can be dangerous. How about if I ride Sorry. How about if I ride Midnight in the race? Aladdin spoke up. The Sultan's face brightened. What a splendid idea, he cried. The next day, Aladdin and Jasmine went to the stables, but when Aladdin climbed onto Midnight, the horse bucked and threw him. Finally, the day of the race arrived. Prince Fayez rode in on his impressive white stallion, Desert Warrior. What an odd-looking horse Aladdin is riding, the Sultan said to Jasmine. But the princess was nowhere to be found. The Sultan shrugged. We can't wait any longer, he said, and he started the race. A black horse with a veiled rider took the lead. As soon as they were out of the view, the rider threw off the veil. It was Jasmine. I just had to prove that you were the fastest, she whispered to Midnight. Now let's go win. Aladdin's horse spotted an oasis of water and jumped in. Now that's more like it, exclaimed the horse. Aladdin had a secret. His horse was actually the genie. On land, Jasmine and Midnight galloped off without a backward glance. Prince Fayez and Desert Warrior stayed on Midnight's heels until the horses had to jump a ditch. Midnight sailed over easily, but Desert Warrior skidded to a stop. Now there was nothing to keep Jasmine and Midnight from winning. Suddenly, Jasmine heard the sound of hoofbeats close behind her. It was Aladdin. Their two horses crossed the finish line at the exact same time. Congratulations, Aladdin said. Same to you, Jasmine replied. But where did you find such a fast horse? Aladdin looked at his feet. Surprise, the genie cried, turning back into himself. Sorry, princess, the genie said. We were just horsing around. He's funny. All right. I said punny on purpose, by the way. So there you have it. Our Disney story of the night. And our bold woman to lift up is Althea Gibson, and she was a tennis champion. So let's hear about Althea. She was a self-described street rebel. She was a child with a lot of energy. Growing up on the streets of Harlem, she preferred to shoot pool, go boxing and bowling, or play basketball or stickball rather than do her schoolwork. She struggled with rules, but everything changed when she found tennis at 14. Members of the Harlem Cosmopolitan Club noticed her talent and took her under their wings, teaching her the game and respect for the rules. Once she committed, she was a force to be reckoned with. By 15, she won her first American Tennis Association National Junior Championship. Most sports were segregated at the time, so when Althea became the first black athlete to enter a U.S. national competition, it was a landmark event. Althea became the first black tennis player to compete at the U.S. National Championships in 1950, and then was the first black player at Wimbledon in 1951. Her 1956 victory at the French Open made her the first African American to win a Grand Slam. Her wins paved the way for black tennis players to come, including Venus and Serena Williams. Despite the barriers she broke in the public eye, segregation still kept her from entering through the front door, eating with the other players, and using the locker rooms. In 1958, she retired from tennis. In those days, it was difficult to make a living playing sports, even though she was regarded as one of the best athletes. Althea had to return to the real world and find work, but she wasn't done being a rebel. Later in life, she picked up golf and became the first black woman to compete on a professional tour. That's awesome. You know what? I just want to make an observation. A lot of these people I've never heard of. And it's sad. It's sad to me that, these are people that made history, and this is the first time I'm hearing about them. And, you can tell who writes history and, who picks what we learn in school. I think about the woman who ran for president, the one we talked about yesterday, the Shirley Chisholm. I never knew that. I always thought that Hillary Clinton was the first woman, or not Hillary Clinton, Sarah Palin was the first woman to run for president. But I'm just amazed, I guess, how much we don't know. How much is I don't know. That's not taught in our school books when I was younger, at least. And I find it kind of sad. Yeah. And I also want to point out that my wife and I have been watching this show called Lovecraft Country. It's a very weird show, but it has some very powerful messages about racism. And in this most recent episode we watched, I'm not going to go into it too deep because it is an incredibly weird show that's giving me really weird dreams every night when I go to sleep. But they have a very interesting take on, bringing racism out into the forefront. And it's set in like the 60s, back when segregation was still around, or even the 50s. And there's this magic spell that this woman gets put under, and this black woman turns into a white woman using this magic spell. And she goes around and sees what it's like to be white, and sees how much of a difference it is back in those days, and how she never realized, just how she was treated as when she was a white woman, as opposed to how she was treated when she was black. And it's just there's just so many things I could say about that. I mean, it's a very powerful representation and demonstration of racism at the forefront. I mean, there's this I have it in my head still. I don't know why I'm talking about this now, but she talked about how when she was the white woman, she was getting, someone like ran into her on the street, and she kind of freaked out a little, and all the cops were coming to her aid and rescuing her. And she talks about what difference it is. When you're a white woman, she says, people are scared for you. When you're scared, when you're freaking out, people are scared for you. They want to help you. But if she was a black woman, freaking out and screaming, they would be scared of her. That was a very enlightening thing to say. Anyway, I'm saddened that we still have to deal with racism now. But I think it's something that we just need to remind ourselves that it still is around. We have to confront it. And we have to fight against it. I don't know. Our world's a mess in so many ways. Anyway, but at least we're not alone. So God bless you all. Sorry for the tangent there, but much love to all of you.